Hello! Jackie Chan is a very unique actor. He's known for his own language of communicating with the audience, a rich set of dizzying stunts, and always playing the good guy. The movie Rumble in the Bronx is no exception, because all these features are applied to it as well. Minimalistic plot with the standard damsels in distress elements exists only to justify the action on the screen. But be assured, in this case, it doesn't spoil the enjoyment of the movie. Make yourself comfortable, grab a hot drink, and get ready for an exciting spectacle. Here we go. Kyung, a policeman from Hong Kong, played by Jackie Chan, arrives at JFK International Airport. His Uncle Bill is already here to pick him up.
Kyung!
They get in the car and chat along the way. Bill thanks his nephew for agreeing to stay for a week. The ride ends in the Bronx, the crime-ridden area of New York City. That's where Bill has opened up his store.
Looks like a really tough area.
The uncle brings his nephew to his huge apartment. He shows him pictures of the family, with Kyung's dad among them. Then a wooden martial arts dummy catches the guy's attention. Bill hasn't practiced on it in a long time and says the thing belonged to his brother. Kyung delivers a series of rapid punches to the dummy. The uncle's neighbor, Danny, appears in the room. The boy is confined to a wheelchair and is impressed by Kyung's skills. Bill brags that his nephew is a martial arts master and champion of Hong Kong. Afterward, the relatives walk Danny to the school bus.
You shoot her study hard.
In parting, the protagonist gives the kid his old portable console. Bill says that the boy's only family is his sister, and even she doesn't provide him with enough care. The next scene takes us to Bill's store. The supermarket is being renovated to be sold in the near future, and Kyung meets Bill's future wife.
This is your nephew.
A potential new owner, Elaine, arrives at the store with her lawyer. Bill immediately starts making a pitch to the buyer. He presents the store to her in the most favorable light. Together, the trio goes into a room with a one-way mirror and prepares to sign the papers. The glass frame opens a clear view of the shopping area. Unaware of the properties of the transparent wall, Kyung begins to play with his muscles in front of the mirror. A perplexed Elaine watches him from the other side. At one point, she begins to smile, and Bill's nephew disappears from sight. Eventually, he reappears trying to pop a pimple in front of the same mirror. Elaine tries to negotiate a better price, but can't hold back her laughter.
So, I'll give it to you now for that price.
Since Bill and the lawyer are sitting with their backs to the transparent wall, they can't see what's going on behind it and continue their business talk. The announced price wipes the smile off Elaine's face, and she asks for a 20% discount. The uncle promises to find a solution. Eventually, they agree on the deal, and Kyung walks into the room and notices that the wall provides a great view.
Okay, here you are. Thank you.
Elaine doesn't miss the opportunity to make fun of the embarrassed guy. In the end, she signs the papers, and Bill talks to an acquaintance and takes a white luxury car from him for the ceremony. He invites the buyer and the lawyer to the wedding, which will take place the next day. The movie then shows us a gang of bikers riding through the streets of the Bronx. They pass under Bill's windows and wake up Kyung. The guy gets up to close the window and notices that a showdown between two gangs is breaking out next to his uncle's rented car. A couple of girls from the gangs race their bikes to the end of the street. They then hop on the car roofs and continue their ride on top of them. Seeing this, the hero tries to wake up his uncle, but the man is sound asleep. Kyung then decides to act on his own. He swiftly descends down the fire escape. He clumsily blocks the path of one of the racers and prevents her from driving over his uncle's friend's expensive car. Because of Kyung's interference, the girl loses and wants to take revenge. But at this very moment, the police appear.
Oh, I'm freezing my butt off! Uncle!
The next day, Bill's wedding takes place. Elaine is attending as well. Kyung approaches the girl. A conversation ensues between them. The hero congratulates the businesswoman on the purchase and offers his help. Elaine accepts, and Kyung promises to stay for a week. The morning of the next day starts early for the protagonist. He gets up and exercises to a report of a robbery in Manhattan's Diamond District. Before leaving for their honeymoon, the uncle and his new wife visit the guy. They leave their apartment to Kyung for a week, papers for Elaine, and some money. A regular working day begins in the supermarket until it's visited by a group of bikers. Just before they arrive, Elaine is signing papers in the very room with the transparent wall. Through it, Kyung notices a biker named Angelo drinking from bottles and sticking gum to the mirror. When he only pays for a chocolate bar, Elaine tries to make him pay for everything else he's taken. Instead, Angelo smashes the bottle on the floor. His friend comes into the noise and starts acting aggressive as well. At this point, Kyung intervenes in the confrontation. He empties the thief's bag, returning everything the guy had stolen. The bikers surround the protagonist. The girl tries to de-escalate the situation, but a fight breaks out. Kyung methodically takes care of the whole gang. While doing so, he evades being stabbed in the best tradition of Hong Kong action movies. Finally, he breaks Angelo's nose, and the man and his accomplices leave the store in fear. Kyung forces the Asian biker to apologize to Elaine and punishes him for stealing.
Say in Chinese.
In the evening, Kyung and Elaine close the store. The girl has trouble dealing with the tight roller shutters, but the hero helps her.
I have you. Let go.
After that, he takes his purchases and goes home. On the way, the hero encounters a gang kidnapping a girl. He follows the villains into an alley and scares them with a fake badge. When Kyung approaches the victim, she first thanks him and then abruptly kicks him in the crotch. She turns out to be the biker whose race Kyung ruined. As she runs off to the side, the guy is attacked by 4 large men with clubs. The Hong Kong policeman delivers a bunch of precise kung fu blows. He uses everything he can get his hands on: a curved ladder, clothes, and even a chain link fence. When the assailant's backup arrives on the scene, they start chasing after Kyung. The bikers catch up with them in an alley. Angelo leads the pursuit with a broken nose and a revolver in his hands. However, the bikers' leader, Tony, suggests the entire crowd beat up Kyung and have some fun. The gangsters pelt the hero with glass bottles and other heavy garbage. Kyung has nowhere to run. He's pinned against the wall. The guy has no choice but to lie on the ground and cover his face with his hands. Angelo pulls out his revolver again and wants to shoot the guy, but is stopped by his companions.
Don't you ever call me! Who the hell you think you?
He ends up punching one of the girls for calling him crazy, but then receives a hook to his broken nose from another female racer who stands up for her friend. In the end, Angelo accidentally points the gun at the gang leader, and the boss takes the weapon away from him. All the bikers slowly withdraw from the alley, and leave the wounded Kyung lying on the pavement amidst the shards and garbage. The racer returns home. She turns out to be the sister of Danny, Bill's wheelchair-bound neighbor. The boy doesn't get along with the girl because she spends more time with the gang than she does taking care of her little brother. Danny tells her that the console he's playing on is a gift from a neighbor, Kyung. The girl doesn't realize who he's talking about, even though, ironically, she just left the hero beaten up in an alley. The boy complains that he spends most of his time locked up. Danny reproaches his sister for not being able to even buy him a new cushion for his chair. The racer promises to change and apologizes to him. When she goes out to the staircase, a bloodied Kyung appears there too. Danny walks out into the common hallway on crutches and recognizes the hero. His sister takes Kyung inside and provides first aid. In the morning, the policeman wakes up in his uncle's apartment. Danny is also there. Kyung says that he was beaten up by a whole gang. The boy explains that the guy was undressed and treated by his sister. Kyung eats the breakfast prepared for him and wants to thank his savior, but she has already left for classes. The hero goes to Elaine's store. In the city, he's spotted by the bikers. They pursue him on their motorcycles. Kyung escapes through a cafe, but the gangsters keep up with him. They knock over furniture, food, and an entire popcorn stand. Eventually, the cop gets into an alley and climbs over a fence into an indoor parking area. That's where the gang arrives as well. Kyung runs through the floors of the parking. He cleverly hides behind a wall and gets the first 2 enemies off their motorcycles. At that moment, the other 6 pursuers, 3 of whom are on bikes, catch up with him. They drive the hero into a corner. The cop has his back against the fence on one of the floors of the parking lot. Not seeing any other way out, Kyung makes his way to the outside of the building and climbs up the roof like Spider-Man. The hero reaches the roof in a matter of minutes. There, he hides in a truck full of colorful balls and asks the driver not to hand him over while bikers are prowling around. But the man doesn't fulfill the plea. He leaves the cabin and reveals where Kyung is. The gangsters decide to push the hero off the roof right in the truck. At the very last moment, Kyung leaves the vehicle through its open top. The truck crashes to the pavement with a rumble, balls scattering all over the place. Meanwhile, the bikers find Kyung. They drive the guy to the very edge of the roof. Angelo offers him a deal. The policeman must kiss him on his bottom. Then the gangster promises to let him go. But the hero has a different idea. He tears off an antenna from a nearby car and heartily whips the careless hooligan.
Oh, hey!
While the rest of the gang is laughing, the hero throws his weapon of vengeance at them and leaps over an 8-meter abyss to a nearby building. The landing is rough. In the meantime, the police arrive on the scene and Kyung leaves via a fire escape, while Jackie Chan's protagonist is fleeing from the bikers. Somewhere in another part of the city, a meeting of criminal bosses is taking place. Dangerous-looking thieves are trying to sell stolen diamonds to people in suits. At this moment, the bikers, frustrated by the mishap, are about to give a ride home to the female rider from the very beginning. She's the girlfriend of their leader, but asks him not to come up and leaves the guys. Angelo tells the boss that it's time for him to get rid of the capricious girl, but in response receives several insults. Meanwhile, Kyung is taking his neighbor Danny on a stroll down the street. There's an accident. The car of the stolen diamond sellers flies into another vehicle and then into the front of a store. The bikers, pleased with such luck, rob them. Angelo takes the briefcase. The buyers of the jewelry arrive on the scene, climb out of their limos, and open fire. Kyung takes Danny into the nearest building. The men in suits open the door of the seller's car and throw a grenade to the unconscious gangsters. Afterwards, they hop back into their black limousines and quickly drive away. Angelo takes the briefcase into one of the buildings and discovers that he has stolen the very diamond that the suits were looking to get. The criminals were apparently on their way to collect the rest of the jewels when they got involved in the accident. The find gets the biker excited, but that's when the men in black show up and open fire. Angelo grabs the diamonds and runs into a random building. This is the same place that Kyung went into with Danny. When the policeman hears footsteps, he lifts the boy from his chair and carries him to shelter. The wheelchair is left on the stairs. Angelo decides to hide his loot in it because the criminals are snooping around, looking for the contents of the briefcase. They catch the guy and search him at gunpoint. Afraid of the police, the suits drop their weapons and let Angelo go. Kyung seizes the moment and takes the wheelchair and Danny into the apartment. He doesn't know about the biker's stash in the old cushion. The cops arrive and arrest everyone on the stairs, Angelo and 2 unlucky buyers of the stolen jewelry. Kyung takes Danny home. His sister is there too. She hides from the guy because she's afraid he will recognize her as a gang member. On the table across from the kid is a new cushion for his wheelchair. The sister bought it to replace the old, uncomfortable one. Danny tells Kyung about his sister, but says she works as a flight attendant and a photo model. The girl, hiding behind a wall, hears all this. Danny admits that living with a disability is hard for him, especially when he sees healthy kids in the park and feels like he can't play like them. The policeman places the new cushion on the wheelchair to the boy's sad story about not being able to take care of his sister. At this point, the racer can't stand it anymore and comes out of hiding.
I wish my legs were like other kids so I could take care of her myself, and I wouldn't have to worry about her.
Her name is Nancy. Kyung instantly recognizes the troublemaker, but forgives her and asks her to forget about the past. Danny's surprised that his new friend already knows his sister. Kyung replies that he ran into her on the staircase the other day. He takes the boy in his arms and settles him into the renovated wheelchair. With his foot, Kyung accidentally pushes the old cushion with the jewelry under the couch. Nancy and the cop watch Danny together as he celebrates the upgrade. Meanwhile, Angelo is questioned at the precinct, but the cops have nothing on him. The biker plays dumb and pretends to be a tourist. There's nothing to charge him with. The guys in suits are questioned in the adjacent room. However, the cops can't piece all the information together. They have a gun with no prints, an empty briefcase, and a list of missing jewels. The grenade explosion in the car that the suit set off has removed all the major clues. The cops suspect that the men they have caught have something to do with the robbery that Kyung heard about on the radio. Meanwhile, lawyers get the buyers of the diamonds released from the police station. The detectives can only look disappointedly at the departing limousine. They release Angelo to set up surveillance on him. That same night, the biker tries to find the abandoned gems. The suits do the same. When Kyung meets them on the stairs, they introduce themselves as FBI agents. The men give the hero their business card in case he finds something suspicious and let him go. At the same time, a party is taking place in the Bronx, where local youth are having fun. Kyung goes there as well. He finds his new acquaintance, Nancy, in a cage. She dances in a revealing outfit while real tigers scurry around her. Nancy notices Kyung and greets him. She continues to dance as her biker friends, led by Tony, arrive at the establishment. The racketeers discuss Angelo's arrest and release, and then go looking for Nancy. Meanwhile, she sits down at a table with Kyung for a drink. He carefully asks her about her job when the two are spotted by one of the gang members. Nancy takes the cop by the arm and tries to lead him away, In the alley, she purposely knocks over the bikes of her buddies. Together, the couple jumps on the last remaining bike and rides away. The gangsters don't catch up with them in time. Kyung advises Nancy to leave the bad bunch and spend more time with her brother. She hugs the guy and kisses him against the backdrop of the night city. The next morning, the bikers break into Elaine's store. They trash the place looking for Kyung. In the heat of the moment, the suits grab 2 of the gang members and put them into the trunks of their limousines. Elaine helplessly watches her business turn to rubble. At this very moment, the unsuspecting Kyung is in the park with Danny and Nancy. The trio is having a good time. They are watched by Angelo, who has disguised himself with clothes beyond recognition. At the right moment, when the adults go to get ice cream, he throws the boy to the ground and takes away his cushion. Finding no jewels in it, the biker drops the cushion and runs away. Meanwhile, the kidnapped bikers are being tortured by the suits. They shove one of the guys into a wood chipper, but still learn nothing. After the park, Kyung visits Elaine's store. The bikers have trashed it. The saddened owner blames the policeman for not being there, even though Kyung promised to help her for a week. She also accuses him of being in love with the girlfriend of a local gang leader. That's why the hooligans showed up at Elaine's store. They were looking for Kyung and wanted revenge. The policeman goes looking for Tony. Nancy brings him to the bikers' camp. Kyung breaks into one of the mobile homes, finds the gang leader and his associates, and starts a fight.
You are our garbage!
The policeman smashes their stereo against a pool table. At first, a single bottle flies at him, and then the hooligans start attacking him all at once. The scuffle is interrupted by Tony shooting into the ceiling. At first, he wants to shoot Kyung, but then he notices Nancy entering the room, drops the gun, and decides to show off in front of his ex-girlfriend. Tony thinks that he can defeat the protagonist in hand-to-hand combat. In a spectacular one-on-one fight, Kyung throws the biker boss into the slot machine. At this point, the others join the fight as well. The policeman methodically delivers blow after blow and cleverly uses the objects around him: bottles, tables, slot machines, and even skis. The fight is interrupted by another warning shot from Tony. The boss says that Kyung has won and can go, but instead, the policeman gives a speech about gangsters wasting their lives living like scum. The hero leaves the biker's lair and, in parting, says a pacifist phrase in Chinese.
希望下次我見面，唔係你打我打你，而係大家一齊飲茶。
Nancy runs after Kyung and tells the gang that he's right. At that moment, one of the guys who was kidnapped by the suits comes into the room. He's carrying a garbage bag in his hands and asks for help. The bag turns out to contain a shredded lance, one of the hooligans. The survivor reveals that if the bikers don't return what Angelo has stolen, the same fate will befall all of them. Kyung decides to call the number he was given by the alleged FBI agents. He meets up with the suits at the trailer park. Angelo is in one of the mobile homes. Tony tries to learn about the game he's playing. At that moment, one of the fake agents enters the room. Angelo recognizes the gangsters and loudly announces that they have nothing to do with the FBI. One of the criminals shoots him in the leg. The men in black try to find out where their diamonds are, and Angelo reveals that they are in Danny's wheelchair.
I ask you where the diamonds are.
In Danny's wheelchair.
The gangsters point their guns at Nancy, Tony, and our protagonist. Kyung says he knows where the gems are. The suits take the protagonist and drive off with him. The criminals arrive at Danny's house, destroy his new cushion, and also treat the boy himself roughly. When Kyung tries to oppose them, he immediately gets punched in the face. Another punch is delivered once the gangsters find nothing in the new pillow. Seeing this, Danny says the diamonds are in his sister's room. One of the thugs grabs the kid and carries him away, but all he finds in Nancy's room is costume jewelry. This makes the thug furious, and he lashes out at the boy. At that moment, Kyung notices Danny's old pillow under the couch, as well as the crutch lying next to it. At gunpoint, he retrieves the find and suddenly knocks out one of the criminals. The hero snatches the gun from the assailant's hand, jumps on the couch, takes the second gangster at gunpoint, and prescribes him a dose of corporal punishment. Danny helps the guy by tossing him items like a football helmet or a wrench. Kyung ties up the thugs. The boy calls the police, but the officers are slow to respond. One of the criminal's cell phone rings. Kyung answers it and pretends to be a thug. The voice on the other end of the line asks where his diamonds are and orders to eliminate all witnesses.
You You want to kill me?
Who the hell is this?
I'm the Chinaman.
The protagonist says he has captured the two men and seized the gems. In exchange for them, he wants to get his friends. Kyung asks Danny to hang up the phone and not call the police. The gangster leader promises to tell him what to do. Kyung sends the boy to school in a cab. At that moment, the captured bikers are mercilessly beaten at gunpoint by the suits. Tony gets beaten up the hardest. They ask him where Kyung might have gone. The gang leader says that the man the gangsters are looking for works at a Lane supermarket. Inside the store, the repairs had just been completed. The policeman arrives there to warn the owner of the impending trouble. He shows the girl the diamonds and asks for help in catching the villains. The suits drive up to the store and call Kyung. They want the hero to come down to the shopping area. Once there, Kyung discovers that the criminals have entangled the entire space with chains that are attached to a tow truck outside. The villains are ready to destroy everything around them at the first command. The policeman tries to warn Elaine, but the girl doesn't listen to him. At this moment, the store begins to fall apart before their very eyes. Kyung and Elaine survive in the middle of the ruins. The protagonist receives a call from the diamond thief who promises to kill everyone if the policeman doesn't hand over the jewels. Kyung calls the police and informs the officers of everything. He's sent undercover to the address given by the leader of the criminals. The hero's task is to show the bandits one diamond and get a confession and information about the theft from them. Kyung meets with the suits and cleverly gets them to talk. The criminals call their boss and decide to search the hero. The gangsters find a microphone in his hair. The leader gives orders to his subordinates to kill both the hostages and Kyung. At the last moment, the cop cleverly escapes from the captors, but gets stuck between two walls. Officers arrive at the scene, and a gunfight ensues with the gangsters in suits. Kyung is rescued, and he decides to search for the hostages himself. Firing back at their pursuers, the men in black hijacked a hovercraft with people inside. Kyung climbs the mast of a nearby yacht to the bridge supports and jumps onto the captured vessel. However, he immediately falls off it, but his foot gets caught in the rope. The protagonist is pulled after the boat, while the criminals shoot back at the police. The boat flies onto a nearby beach, and Kyung barely manages to save a child who almost gets hit by the vessel. The gangsters try to run him over, but the air cushion only pushes the brave cop into the soft sand. The chase continues in the city, the boat speeding down the roadway. Kyung gets into a sports car, picks up a sword from an antique store, and goes to rescue his friends. Sticking his weapon out from the side, he cuts through the cushion and forces the vessel to stop. Kyung jumps inside, snatches a gun from one of the enemies, and intimidates the gangsters. The police arrive on the scene, and one of the suits reveals information about the hostages' whereabouts. The guys are rescued, and Kyung is allowed to carry out an operation to capture the head of the gangsters. The air cushion is patched up, and the hero and his friends get into the high-speed all-terrain craft. Together, they drive to the country club and catch up with the main villain, the White Tiger. The air cushion drives right over him and leaves the old man without clothes. Interestingly, Rumble in the Bronx was actually filmed quite far from New York. Due to production-related difficulties, the movie had to be shot in Vancouver, Canada. Unfortunately, this didn't save Jackie Chan from yet another stunt injury. The actor broke his ankle in a scene towards the end of the film, when he jumped into a moving craft from the pier. However, even after that, the filming continued. The actor's cast was disguised as a shoe. As always, you can find the title of the movie in the description of the video. And let us know in the comments, which of Jackie Chan's stunts do you think is the most dangerous? Make sure to subscribe to the channel, click on the bell button, and leave a like so that our videos are released more often.